Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Still in Developmental Podcast. It is me, Austin Jones, my co-host Xavier. Xavier, how you doing on this Tuesday night?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Start to the week's been a little rough, but we're gonna make it through. We in the grind of the semester. If you're in college, you know how it is, but I'm doing good, man.
I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that.
All right, man. We're gonna introduce a new segment this week. So here's what's gonna happen, ladies and gentlemen. 1 week, I'm gonna ask Austin what's pissing him off in the sports world because he's the negative tone setter.
I'm the Paul Kaharski of the podcast.
And then the next week, Austin's gonna ask me what's on my mind in the sports world because I tend to be more positive.
Yeah, he's like the Chad Withrow, the Jonathan Hutton. If you listen to 104.5 The Zone, I'm the Paul Kaharski.
Shout out Midday 180, but we're going to start. So, Austin, what's pissed you off in the sports world today, man? What's on your mind?
You know what really pissed me off? I believe I woke up. I believe it was either yesterday or Sunday. And so, as some of you may know, Tennessee lost to Kentucky this previous weekend. Tennessee was 18th in the country. Kentucky was unranked. It was the first time that we lost to Kentucky since, I believe, 1984 in Neyland Stadium.
I believe that is correct.
And so if you watch any Tennessee games, something you'll notice is our defense is pretty dang good. They're pretty good. They held Georgia for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
They shut out Missouri. They're pretty good. And going into halftime of the Kentucky game, Kentucky had 1 first down. And we were down 17-0 because our offense threw 2 pick sixes and then a third pick that set them up in field goal range. But that's not what's got me pissed off. What's got me pissed off is Jeremy Pruitt fired the defensive line coach.
Yep. I didn't ask you about that because I knew that's where you was going to go. I wanted the raw reaction because I saw that and I was like, don't just me, but I'm not a diehard Tennessee fan, so what do I know?
He fired the defensive line coach, who's also our co-defensive coordinator. And when asked, Pruitt said, well, it just wasn't working out. I'll coach the D-line, and I'll call the defense for the rest of the year. How about you coach the offense, Pruitt? What pisses me off, we have a top sack getter in the SEC on our defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
We held Kentucky to 1 first down in the first half, and we're down 17-0. And you sit here and say the issue is the defense and the defensive line? How is that the issue?
It's not. And look, I know we're talking about the defensive line, but y'all got the best linebacker in the country, and I'll die on that hill. And if the D line has to help the linebackers in a way, he doesn't get to run free if the D line doesn't do their job. So that's just another tidbit to chew on.
And then, what further is pissing me off? They asked Pruitt about our quarterback situation, and while he said that Jared Garantano would have to earn his starting job through practice, he said he's not ready to bench him.
Dude,
what are you watching that I'm not? What are you watching that makes you sit there and think that he's not ready to be benched?
That dude's been ready to bench for the last 3 years.
He's a 5th-year senior, and last year as a high school senior, I saw my quarterback, Cody Sparks, shout out Bowling Green University, play better than Jared Garantano has. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit here and fire the defensive line coach like he's the issue. He ain't the issue, Pruitt. Bench the quarterback.
Yeah. Just watching it from an outside perspective, like obviously I'm in the state, so I hear all the little tidbits, but just watching it from a completely unbiased perspective, if nothing else, you can't start him because the team doesn't believe in your quarterback. Like,
exactly.
If you give me one team who's never believed in their quarterback that won, you can't find one in history of NFL, college, high school. There's not one.
Because here's what will tell you everything you need to know about Garantano after the first, and how the team feels after the first pick six, teammates were consoling him. They were, keeping his head up. It's going to be okay. After the second pick six, not a single teammate went over to him. They just looked at him. And you feel like you can trot him back out onto the field?
No.
That's pathetic.
Like, I don't care if there's a true freshman who doesn't even know the offense. Like, he can hand the ball off. At least you're sending a message to your team that says, hey, you can't do this, which he's been doing it for the last 3 years, which just digs further into the point. But I get where you're coming from, man. I really do.
Because that's what they say the biggest issue is not starting Harrison Bailey. Oh, he's a true freshman. He doesn't know the offense. He doesn't get reps in practice. And you want to know what that is? Because Pruitt won't work with him.
Yeah.
Pruitt won't let him get reps. Pruitt won't work with him. That's the issue.
Yeah.
He was a 5-star for a reason. If you give him the reps, he's going to be able to learn the offense.
Yeah. It kills recruiting, too, because nobody's going to want to come play for you if they think the ignorant quarterback's just going to be able to stay in his starting spot.
Exactly. What makes a recruit, especially a quarterback recruit, watch this and think, yep, I want to come to Tennessee.
Yeah.
They can't develop quarterbacks, and they obviously won't give you a chance even if the starter sucks.
Like, obviously, Oklahoma's not having the year they want, but why do you think all the quarterbacks go to Oklahoma?
Yes, and that's what it's ridiculous. And if Jared Garrett, I will put this down. I told my dad this on Saturday, and I've repeated it every day since, and I will put it on audio recording. If that Tennessee-Alabama game this Saturday on CBS at 2:30, if Tennessee's first offensive drive, Jared Garantino trots on at quarterback, I will turn it off and go do something else with my day. I will not watch this because I know exactly where it's going to go. I had a friend that lives in Indiana that sent me a clip from the local Chattanooga news station, and he had a square peg and a round hole.
Yeah.
And he kept clanking them together, and he said, no matter how hard you try, they'll never fit. They'll never be compatible. He said, just like Jared Garantino and starting quarterback. It will never work.
No.
Because everybody loves to talk about that big, 8-game win streak we went on last year and this year combined. Who notable did we beat? Indiana? A 7-win Indiana team? Who we had to storm back down 2 scores in the fourth quarter from? Because Garantino turned the ball over in the first half?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And then as soon as you bring Harrison Bailey in with 9 minutes left in the game when we're down 34-7, you make him just start handing the ball off. He could have done that in the second quarter, Pruitt. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But with that said, we might need to get into the actual show now.
Hey.
So
we're humans. We got feelings. Let it free.
So, from my understanding, I'm not a big baseball guy, but I know it is the World Series and the NLCS and the ALCS just ended. Xavier, can you fill us in on that a little bit?
Yes, like Austin said, I'm a fan of baseball, but I'm not sure. I don't know what every stat means, blah, 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 all that stuff. So, the NLCS, the Dodgers beat my Braves in 7. No comment. In the ALCS, the Rays beat the Astros in 7, so you got 2 Game 7s. You're a baseball fan. That's huge for you. I personally enjoyed just the content happening. The World Series first pitch is in 8 minutes, I believe, and it's on Fox if you don't know, and it is the Rays versus the Dodgers.
All right, so that is Tampa Bay and Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles rocking right now.
Yes, they are.
I mean, Herbert's lighting it up with the Chargers. The Rams are, 4-2?
Yeah.
Lakers just won a title. Dodgers in the World Series.
And the one little interesting note with the World Series, the MLB has obviously the season was moved back, so they have been going pretty much every day since the season has started, all the way up through the playoffs. It was every day. They played 7 games in 7 days, which really affects your pitching rotation. But now for the World Series, they're back to 2 games and 1 off. So they'll play tonight and tomorrow, and they'll have a day off. So that helps with the normal. That's just the usual flow you see when we're not in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, man, if the Braves ain't to play every day, we probably could have done some. We're going to be back. Look, let me make it clear right now. I watched 1 game of the NLCS. and it was just the ninth inning. So I don't even count it.
I didn't watch a complete game. Look, guys, it's football season. I'm sorry that you're gonna hear me say that over and over again until the Super Bowl. That's just where my heart is.
I'll be honest. Even if it wasn't football season, I'm not watching a full baseball game.
It's just I don't know. I enjoy it more than you, but because I got into the video game too. I love MLB The Show. I think it's a phenomenally made game, but I digress. That's for another day.
Sorry, go ahead.
So, yeah, baseball's on. First pitch about to start, which obviously y'all won't be hearing this till a couple of days after because we got to cut and edit stuff. So, but.
I was just going to say, anytime I turn a game on, I do find it, I don't think it's boring. That's not why I don't watch it. Anytime I do turn a game on, I think last year I turned on, a Cubs-Red Sox game that was on ESPN and watched it. And it's really entertaining. It's just I'm the kind of person where baseball, I used to play baseball, but I didn't grow up watching it. So it's not something that I'm going to turn on and watch.
Yeah, I didn't.
Most times I won't even, I'll watch football games that don't have my team, but for instance, last night I played Madden instead of watching Arizona or the Arizona-Dallas game or the second half of the Kansas City-Buffalo game. I was playing Madden, reading, work on school stuff because that's just kind of how I am, especially since I'm not playing fantasy this year. I don't really have a reason to watch it, but it's not because it's boring. It's just how I am.
I get that. If there's a football game on, it's always on in my house somewhere. Even if I'm doing schoolwork, I'll have it on the radio, or I'm playing the game, I'll have it on the radio because our sports station gets all the primetime games. So, look, man, there's so much stuff happening right now. It's hard to watch everything for being complete. So,
especially since we're wrestling fans too. So, there's just a ton going on.
There's just so much happening. And then plus, we're both taking 5 classes and, we both do. So, but World Series going to start now in 4 minutes. Hey.
So now that we've got the baseball coverage out of the way, I say it's time to dive right back into college football. So we've got a couple of Week 6 highlights because, we're sitting here thinking, how can we format this segment to where it's kind of not just a drag and entertaining. So we've gone through and picked some highlights from this previous weekend, and we'll talk about those. And then we'll talk about this week's top 25. And then we'll highlight and preview some storylines for this upcoming weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So the first highlight, we already kind of touched on in the opening segment. Kentucky upsets number 18 Tennessee 34-7. Kentucky's first win in Neyland since 1984. The Vols just gave up. Bad quarterback play plagued them. Garantano lost a fumble and threw 2 pick sixes, and then JT Shrout came in and immediately threw an interception. So bad QB play just plagued Tennessee, and then they just gave up. And it's disheartening to watch as a fan, but I'm just kind of used to it. So, X, kind of give us an outsider's perspective of this game.
This game was on in my house because I didn't really care for any of the other noon. Well, the 11 o'clock games here, noon on the East Coast. So this game was on in my house. You could just tell from the start how the game was going to go. It's one of those things where you come out. Football is weird. I'll say that a lot. I love it, but it's weird. It's one of those things where you can either come out and you would just be flat. I don't think Tennessee was flat. I just feel like after that first interception, they kind of knew. You're just sitting on the sideline here we go again. Oh, boy, here we go again.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, there's not much the defense can do when they're on the field all game. It's disheartening to see because there's so much talent there, at least from a talent perspective. I would hate to see Pruitt just absolutely get fired and have to start over again. Because that's what people don't realize. People expect in college football, people expect coaches to come in and they give them a year and they're like, okay, you need to be in title contention. It's college football. You have to recruit. It's not the NFL. You don't already have players. Because look, the Jets suck, okay? But even on the Jets, they have some good pieces, okay?
Yeah.
So in college football, I'm a firm believer you need 3, 4, 5 years to build a program and get your recruits in there because you have recruits coming in as freshmen and your team's going to be sorry the first year you're the coach. You're not going to play the freshmen to get their hopes down. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's just my perspective from it. But he's got to step it up or he's going to be gone just like all the others.
Yeah, and that's what really hurts with Pruitt, because you want to think he's the guy, and he's gonna get us there, and then you look and it's year 3, and he's already got some of the most embarrassing losses in program history. This Kentucky loss and the loss to Georgia State last year, those are 2 of the most embarrassing losses in program history. And it's disheartening. And, I was very, very harsh during the game and Saturday. I believe some of my remarks were he's nothing more than a redneck Butch Jones. And, I don't think it's that severe, but it's concerning. Because you kind of have a situation where a few years ago with the Tennessee Titans, we had Mike Mularkey as head coach. We went 9-7. We beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead in the wild card round, and we lost in the divisional round. And then we fired Mularkey a few days later. Everybody kind of looked at it. It's because he wouldn't get rid of his offensive coordinator, Terry Robisky. He would not get rid of the offensive coordinator. And that caused him to lose his job. And I fear that's what could happen with Pruitt here.
Yeah.
If Pruitt continues to cling to Garantano and refuses to bench him, he could very well lose his job because of it.
Yeah.
And what I can't get why he's got this overbearing sense of loyalty to Jared Garantano.
I don't understand it
because
either.
Garantano was a Butch Jones recruit. He's one of the last Butch Jones recruits on the team. Harrison Bailey he's a Jeremy Pruitt recruit. He was brought in by this coaching staff, recruited by this coaching staff. Why? Why do you not turn to him? Why are you clinging to Garantano?
I don't understand it. I just don't.
It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't get why that he has such a need to cling on to him. And like I said, I think it could cost him his job.
The only thing I can think of, and we'll just leave it on this, is the gap between Garantano and Stroud,
Brian Maurer, and Harrison Bailey.
Like, either the gap is that big.
It can't be.
I don't believe it is, because I don't really think it can be. Like, look, even if they're not as talented, quote unquote, as Garantano, you can live playing quarterback by not making mistakes. Mm-hmm. Tennessee's got 2 stud running backs, okay? Mm-hmm. You can live by just not making mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
There's got to be something said there, because it's the SEC. Yes, defenses are struggling, but there's not really a team in the SEC that, besides Mississippi State, it's like, we're going to throw the ball 60 times.
Yeah.
They don't. Like, Alabama has the most ruthless passing attack in the SEC right now, and they don't even throw the ball 60 times a game.
Yeah.
They don't. So
it's like I said,
for mistake-free football.
It's like I said, Kentucky was up 17-0 at halftime, or it may have been 17-7. It was something like that, and they had 1 first down.
Yeah.
We don't need Peyton Manning or T. Martin at quarterback here. We just need somebody that's not going to turn the ball over. Because if we have a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over,
we have a chance to win.
Kentucky has 0 points going into half.
Yeah.
It's a completely different game.
It kills the defense too. It just kills the energy, because you're at halftime and your coach is looking at you like, well, boy, you can't do anything else. They have 1 first down. So
absolutely.
As a defensive coordinator, you can't go in the locker room and say that, because you got to have the team's back. Personally,
don't worry, the co-defense coordinator's not here anymore. He got fired.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, you can, but
he probably went in and cussed the offense. I would.
I'd
like to note there's no merit to that. That was just exaggeration. I am not trying to say that he did that. I'm not trying to slander anybody's name here.
No, we're just having some fun, guys. But I don't know, man. It's a weird connection. I hope he finds a way to ditch it though before it's
Yeah,
too late.
at this point, as a Tennessee fan who started watching when Derek Dooley was the coach, it is what it is. Hopefully, we turn it around. If not, I won't be surprised. So, moving on to the next highlight of Week 6, we're sticking in the SEC, but this time with actually two good teams. Number 2 Alabama defeated number 3 Georgia 41-24. The final score does not show how tightly contested it was in the first half.
No, it does not.
I believe Georgia actually had the lead at halftime.
I don't remember if they did, but I have the rundown here. They both teams scored 7 in the first quarter. Georgia scored 17 in the second quarter. Alabama scored 13 in the third and fourth quarter. Georgia did not score, and Alabama scored 21 in the third and fourth combined.
Yeah, so Georgia had the lead at halftime and came out of half and just absolutely fell apart.
Yeah.
And
I don't.
it's Nick Saban. What can I say? You know, he got cleared. He got his negative COVID test 3 in a row, so he got cleared to coach. And boy, you could tell.
Yeah.
Georgia's defense just looked undisciplined here, in my opinion.
Yes, they did, and I'll harp on this again. Georgia's defense is one of the best in the country, but they can only do so much when the offense doesn't do anything. Football is such a complimentary sport; it doesn't get enough credit. But I agree. They looked kind of undisciplined, but when you got dudes running around and you got Najee Harris coming down your face, I don't really know what you're supposed to do. So, like Devontae Smith had 11 receptions, 167 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris ran the ball 31 times for $152 and a touchdown. I mean, dang, like it's the same thing with Alabama and Clemson every year. Everywhere you look, there's just another guy. It's like bam, 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 and all of a sudden it'll be playoff time. Here comes a true freshman we never heard of who has 150 yards catching the ball in a game. And it's like, oh, he's here too? All right, cool. So there's yes, the score does not resemble the game in the first half, but the second half, it was runaway freight train with Nick Saban and coaching adjustments. There's nothing else to say.
Yeah, because I made this comment to my dad because him and my mom, because my mom's an Alabama fan, and before y'all hop on the bandwagon, saying she a bandwagon, she, that 30-year period between their elite stretches, I can't remember who the coach that dominated early was with them, but basically the 30 years they sucked before they got Nick Saban, that's when she was a fan, when they were winning 3 games a year and can name you, because Alabama used to be what Tennessee's been for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And, just a revolving door of coaches and garbage. And she can name you every single coach from that time period. So, don't come from my mom's or we're going to have issues. Real talk.
I felt you on that.
Yeah. But they watched the whole game out in the garage because, that's kind of like my dad's man cave. They go out there and watch the game. I didn't catch most of the first half. I think I was playing Madden. If you guys can't tell, we play a lot of Madden.
A blessing and a curse.
But I watched the majority of the second half with them. Or I watched the second and third quarter with them. And because by the fourth quarter, it was a blowout, so I went inside. And I made the comment to my dad on Sunday when we were watching the Titans game that, thinking about it, it seemed like Georgia's DBs were getting called for holding every series, and it wasn't phantom flags. It wasn't the refs helping out Alabama. Georgia's defense was just that undisciplined, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They were, sure, they're physical, but you can't be sloppy if you're going to be a physical secondary.
Yeah.
You have to play neat, and they didn't. They played a physical, sloppy game, and when you've got 3 inches of stretch jersey between you and the receiver, they're gonna call holding on that every single time, as they should.
Mm-hmm.
You can't face guard a receiver, you can't hold the jersey, you can't grab him by the shoulder pad, Georgia just looked completely undisciplined, and it cost them. And I feel like that's been the biggest thing under Kirby Smart is coaching. They have no discipline.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the SEC East unfolds. I mean, I think we pretty much, barring a miracle, Bama's going to run the table in the West. So, I trust me. I hope they lose. Like one of my favorite college football memories is when Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans just beat Alabama. I will never forget that game. But I don't know, man. What else can you say? It's Alabama. They're here every year. I get tired of talking about it because it's the same thing every year.
Yeah, and honestly, I think we'll see an Alabama-Georgia rematch in the SEC championship game because I don't see Florida beating Georgia.
No, I don't.
Because I think we can get into this on a different episode, but I think Florida are pretenders. I don't think that defense is going to hold when it comes time for title contention.
I know this isn't on the list, but stick with me for a second. Since we're going to talk about pretenders, Notre Dame is 4-0 and 3-0 in the ACC right now. They beat Louisville 12-7 Saturday. Louisville's 1-4. We can move on.
Yeah, look, Clemson. We'll touch on this briefly. Clemson demolished Georgia Tech 73-7.
Dude, it was bad. Like, I don't even think Trevor Lawrence played the second half.
He didn't. Clemson is going to have their way with the ACC, including Notre Dame. It's not even going to be a contest.
No, we thought maybe, just maybe.
We haven't seen Ohio State play this year, but even then, I'm pretty confident in saying that in college football, it is Clemson and Alabama, and then everybody else.
Yeah,
and I fully think we are headed for another Alabama-Clemson national championship game, which you will get no complaints here because it's going to be a classic.
Yeah, it'll be a great game.
It'll be Mac Jones and Nick Saban versus Trevor Lawrence and Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, and before we move on, look, I'm just going to say this right now. We're going to get to the NFL in a little bit. If I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'm not going to the Jets. It's not happening.
I'm coming back.
Nah, like, look, I'm either pulling an Eli, hitting him with the I'm not playing for you, or I'm going back to Clemson. I am not going to the Jets. I'll take my chances with the Jets winning 2 games next year, even though we all know it'll be a miracle.
Well, at the same time, Sam Darnold's probably praying to God they take Trevor Lawrence so he can get traded.
Honestly, yeah, dude. The Jets, let's move on before I get started.
Yeah, it's funny enough that we dived into the ACC because in ACC action, speaking of pretenders in the ACC, Florida State, who might be the only Power 5, I guess you'd call them, used to like former powerhouse.
They're a staple of college football.
Yeah, they're the only former powerhouse that's somehow been worse than Tennessee in the last 5 years. And that's hard to do. This program has been in shambles since Jameis Winston left with his crab legs. They've been in shambles, except for Saturday night, where they beat number 5 North Carolina 31-28.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because earlier that day, we were with some friends, and we were talking about how college football has gone to the toilet because North Carolina is number 5 in the nation. And lo and behold, here comes Florida State to beat them, to prove us right.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the game because it was on ABC the same time that Georgia and Alabama were on CBS.
Yes.
And SEC is going to take priority in my house, but it's funny to see it happen just because we had been talking about it earlier that day. And goes to prove that conference games, like schedule, record, talent, all that gets thrown out the window when you're playing a conference opponent.
Yes.
All that gets thrown out the window.
Especially rivalry games. Like, this isn't a huge rivalry, but it's a conference game. And look, we were on here last week, and we thought just maybe, that North Carolina and Notre Dame will be able to give Clemson some kind of competition in the ACC. Here 7 days later, it's not happening.
Yeah, look, it's like that Nick Saban post-game interview. It's not gonna happen, so quit asking.
Yeah, since you brought that up, I have to speak on this just from the perspective of being a mixed person in America. I don't know if you've seen what happened to Maria Taylor. I don't know if you've been on Twitter. I haven't talked to you about this at all, but there was I'm assuming it was a guy who sent Maria two screenshots of a notes post that he wrote. And I'm not going to read this because we like to keep this family friendly, but it was some very derogatory remarks. And yes, I'm a nobody sitting in my house doing a podcast with my best friend, but it's like at the same time, half my family's black, I'm half black. And I just like to state that Maria Taylor, you don't deserve that. You are phenomenal at your job, and that hate will not be accepted. And I hope the person who did it gets taken care of accordingly. I just feel like I need to throw that out there.
Yeah, I have not seen what you're talking about, but unfortunately, I can put two and two together and understand that another person of color that works in the sports industry has been unfairly targeted, harassed, and attacked by a racist, just spew of garbage.
Yeah,
and like you said, it has no place in this. It has no place in the sports community. It has no place in this world. And Miss Taylor, you do not deserve that at all. Any person of color, you do not deserve any of the spew that gets thrown your way. And it's my hope that I was having this conversation with a friend the other day, and I was just talking to her, and I was like, how can I, what's being a sports media major going to do to create change? What's it going to do to create social change?
Yeah.
And, because, I was kind of beating myself up for, having a sports major, sports media major and not being able to make a change. She set me down. She was like, you can say that for 98% of jobs on this earth. She said, but you'll have a platform, and you'll have coworkers, and you'll have that ability to lift up and set the new standard. And I hope my generation can be the generation to do that.
Absolutely. I just feel like you bringing out the interview made me think of her. I'm sorry, guys. Back to the fun. So back to Florida State, North Carolina. Look, North Carolina has a very bright future, I think. Sam Howell was great. North Carolina actually had a chance to win the game, but they had 3 straight drop passes, second down, third down, and fourth down going in to score. So that's unfortunate for them, but you gotta play earlier. You're gonna find yourself in that position. So
yeah.
North Carolina will be fine the rest of the year. I mean, until they play Clemson. So I don't know. Florida State is obviously still rebuilding, if you can call it that. So
yeah, they're kind of stuck in purgatory.
Definitely the upset of the weekend for me. No doubt about it.
So to round out week 6, we are unfortunately not going to be on a happy note. One thing we wanted to do with this podcast is we wanted to give it a local flair. We wanted to throw some local action into it, and we are both students at Middle Tennessee State University, so we figured we'll talk about the Middle Tennessee State University football team.
Oh boy, this should be fun.
Unfortunately, they suffered another loss this weekend. They lost to North Texas 52-28. It was the blackout game. We had our black jerseys on. It was at home. I did not go to the game, but I was watching it on my TV. I watched more of this game than I did the Tennessee game. So, Professor Bacon, if you're listening, please know that I'm starting to buy into your Conference USA agenda that you're pushing.
Shout out Professor Bacon.
Yeah, dude's the GOAT.
Yeah.
So, I know I watched more of this game than X did, so I'll kind of break it down a little bit. In the first half, at one point, MTSU had I believe into halftime, we had a 28-21 lead. So, North Texas got the ball coming out, and they tied to make it 28-28. And then MTSU got the ball back, punted. North Texas went up 35-28, and MTSU had a beautiful play on 3rd and 2 that went to the house and tied it 35-35. Except the wide receiver was covered up, which is a penalty. So, next thing you know, it's 3rd and 7. Yeah. And then we're punting the ball. And then our poor quarterback, is scrambling for his life, tries to just do everything he can. He's trying to make a play and threw the ball up. Wide receiver got tripped up, fell down, and the ball got picked off.
Yeah.
And that's all she wrote. It got blown open, 52-28. This team, MTSU overall, they're a program that, you gotta, when you're talking about teams that are like in the Conference USA, you can't think about it like a Power 5 school.
No, you cannot.
It's a completely different ball game. So, they're trying to get players in there. Coach Stockstill, he's a good coach. With that buyout, he's not going anywhere, even if he wasn't a good coach. And they're building, they're rebuilding, and it may be a few uncomfortable years, but obviously there's pieces there.
Yeah,
the final product's not there, but there are pieces there.
No, it's not there, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. I was busy when this game was on. I was not watching the game, but I'll try my best to go over the stat sheet.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double.
Oh man, we got a Capital One sponsorship. Man, I wish we had that Capital One money.
Allow it.
Man, y'all ever just tried to look up a stat sheet and have an ass start playing? It's ridiculous.
Man, like I said, I wish we had that Capital One money, but they unfortunately they are not sponsoring us.
We don't. See, guys, that's why it takes a couple days for the podcast to come out, because we got homie Austin's got to cut and edit stuff. I apologize. I just made you do some more work. I'm sorry, but
it's all good. I'll get Luke to do it.
Yeah. So I have my stat sheet, but since it wants to trip, I'll just give my quick insight. The quarterback, Astro O'Hara, the dude's a stud, okay? There's no way around it. But the dude, he's by no means Kyler Murray. He reminds me of Kyler Murray right now. Kyler Murray catches the ball, and he's pretty much running for his life, which is working out for them quite nicely. If Kyler Murray's not running for his life, his offensive line is solid, but at the same time, O'Hara catches the ball and he's running for his life. Let's just be honest. Nothing against the offensive line. It's just you're at a Conference USA school trying to make a name for yourself. And the dude does everything he can. I mean, there's not much he can really do. I haven't seen enough. I haven't watched enough to speak on the defense, but obviously giving up 52 points a game isn't going to cut it. So that's just my quick insight. Do I need to get better at watching games? Yes, I do. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so that rounds out our Week 6 coverage. So now here is the AP Top 25 for Week 7. So number 1 and 2 stayed the same. Clemson's number 1. Alabama is number 2. Notre Dame jumped up to number 3. Georgia fell to number 4. Ohio State 5. Oklahoma State right behind them at 6. Texas A&M 7. Penn State 8. Cincinnati at 9. Florida 10. Miami 11. BYU 12. Oregon 13. Wisconsin 14. North Carolina falls to 15th. Okay, so they had the AP website has them tied at 14. Wisconsin, North Carolina, because they had the same amount of votes. That's stupid. SMU 16, Iowa State 17, Michigan is 18th, Virginia Tech is 19th, Kansas State 20, Minnesota 21, Marshall, repping Conference USA, is 22, North Carolina State 23, USC 24, and out of the Sun Belt, Coastal Carolina is at number 25.
I wish we were still in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
So don't know. MTSU growing up was always in the Sun Belt for us, and now they moved to Conference USA however many years ago. So that's a quick little local reference.
So here are some of the Week 7 storylines. The big one is the Big Ten is returning this week. As y'all know, the Big Ten wasn't sure if they were even going to have a season this year, and now here we are. They've agreed to return to play. So is the Pac-12. I believe the Pac-12 is later in the year. I think it's in November, if I'm not mistaken. The big marquee matchup out of the Big Ten, because Ohio State plays Nebraska. Just some okay games, but Michigan, number 18 Michigan will face number 21 Minnesota. I believe that was that Fox's like big game this week.
I believe so. Don't quote me on that, but I believe
I
so.
believe College Game Day is going out to cover it too, right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure they are. Let me check real quick.
I believe I saw that College Game Day's going to cover the Michigan-Minnesota game. It'll be nice to see the Big Ten return to action because, that's just more college football. I believe the two biggest things out of the Big Ten, in my opinion, is Ohio State legit, and can anybody else in the Big Ten give them a push? You've got Wisconsin. We got to see how they look after losing Jonathan Taylor. You've got Penn State, who's got James Franklin at coach, and obviously Michigan and Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see who, if anybody, can challenge Ohio State out of the Big Ten, and if Ohio State will look as good as they always do.
Yes, that was correct. They are going to cover that game. College Game Day is. The only reason I'll ever wake up at 8 o'clock on a Saturday after a long week is to watch College Game Day. Absolutely love that show. But I'm with you, man. There's really two storylines for me. Is Ohio State going to be as dominant as they always are, as much as I hate to say it? And Penn State and Michigan, are they going to finally take that step, or are they going to be same mode? That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at.
So in Big 12 action, number 6 Oklahoma State will play number 17 Iowa State. Iowa State has one loss, and Oklahoma State is one of the only, it might be only, Big 12 team left that's undefeated. So in latent terms, Oklahoma State has to win out if Big 12 wants to make the playoffs. I'm just going to put it to you like that.
Yes, they do.
So, Oklahoma State, with the Big 12, like we were talking about earlier with conference games, it's never going to be easy, but certainly Iowa State is one of the biggest, I guess, hurdles they have left to clear.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if Oklahoma State can, kind of solidify their top 10 ranking by beating another ranked opponent.
Yeah, obviously, I don't know much about either of these schools, but I'm going to do it. My hot take of the day, well, I guess I like Iowa State in this game. I do. I do
too. Iowa State's got a good track record of upsetting teams.
I like them to win. I really do.
And then in our last, I guess, future cast of Week 7, number 9 Cincinnati, which that doesn't sound right sane at all.
No, it doesn't.
Why can Cincinnati have success after they get rid of Butch Jones and we can't? Anyway, number 9 Cincinnati will face number 16 SMU. This is probably the most high-profile matchup you're going to get out of the American Athletic Conference this year, just to be completely honest. I don't see a team from American Athletic making a playoff push, but if Cincinnati can beat number 16 SMU, then who knows,
Yeah.
I've seen crazier things happen in college football.
Yeah, me too. I have. That's one of my biggest issues with the playoff is there's some conference who just know going in they can't make it. But we talked about that last episode. So I think it's gonna be a good game. I mean, it's the American Conference. I don't expect anybody to play any defense. I expect it to be 50-50 at halftime. But that's what you live for, man. Speaking of the Pac-12, man, I'm ready for Pac-12 after dark to come back. I just sit here Saturday night after
just
late.
Depressed.
It's like, man, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I mean, some team in California tear it up. I'm like,
I love watching my 71-70 shootout go off at 12.
Dude,
I build my Saturday night around it.
Yeah, dude, I'm like we're both SEC guys, obviously, but
unfortunately,
there might not be anything that can match a Pac-12 after dark game. It's like midnight, you're just chilling, you got a bowl of cereal, and it's like 69-68 with a minute to go, and the other team has the ball, and it's like, oh, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
so,
it's just late night entertainment. I love it.
Seriously.
So jumping from that was college football, week 6, week 7, both got previewed. You got the top 25. So now we're going to jump to the NFL and the week 6 recap for the NFL.
Let's go.
First, we had Indianapolis Colts beating the Cincinnati Bengals 31-27. You can't count on Cincinnati to do anything.
No, you can't. Dog, I'm here watching the Titans game, flipping back and forth because we're in that district. So we got the Colts game. It was our noon game on Fox for whatever reason. We got the Colts game, and the Titans game goes to halftime. And I'm sitting here looking at the Bengals score, and I'm like, they up 2 touchdowns. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Well, and then all of a sudden, the Titans get in a dogfight, a shootout with Houston, to say the least. And I'm not checking this game anymore. Like, I'm pissed off at the Titans, and we've pulled out a win. And I'm ecstatic. I'm jumping around, doing whatever I can. And I look, and somehow Philip Rivers has done one another game in the National Football League. I don't get it, man. I don't understand.
You can't count on Cincinnati to do anything, and it's infuriating.
I don't understand.
And after that, we had the Atlanta Falcons defeating the Minnesota Vikings 40-23. Congrats on Atlanta. Got their first win of the year. Minnesota, you suck. Kirk Cousins, I believe, had another 3-interception day. Brutal. Just absolutely brutal. I think Justin Jefferson still had a good game, so at least that's one bright spot. But if history tells us anything, young, talented wide receivers in Minnesota that put up great numbers usually don't end their career there. Stephon Diggs, Randy Moss.
I don't get it, but shout out to the Falcons. Like I said, I'll say it again, football's weird. Dan Quinn's gone. Falcons win. I'm not saying it's coincidental. I'm just saying it's how football works.
Well, yeah, the interim coach finally figured out that, oh, hey, we've got Julio Jones. We should probably throw the ball to him. And so they did. That's what a revelation.
Yeah, what an observation.
So in one, we've got back-to-back boring games in my opinion. After this, Denver defeated New England 18-12. This game was originally set for Week 5, got rescheduled because of coronavirus. No, New England should not be punished for having this rescheduled. We're in a pandemic. It's just part of it. It comes to territory. Denver, they got Drew Lock back. They defeated New England. Cam can only do so much. You know, He's got no wide receivers. They've got a revolving door of garbage at running back. You know, half the defense opted out.
It wasn't pretty.
I believe for the first time since 2002, New England is under 500 after 5 games.
And just take this, America. The Miami Dolphins are second in the AFC East right now. Just sit on that. Just sit on that for a second. Just take your time and digest that.
Yeah.
Just take your time and think about that. Think about it long and hard, because I had to think about it too. And then eventually I started smiling. So
yeah, it'll make you happy.
Think about it for a second. It'll bring joy to you. Well, unless you're a Patriots fan. So
yeah, shouts out J-Rock. After that, the New York Giants also notched their first win of the season.
And the New York Football Giants. Shout out to
they beat the Washington football team 20-19. Kyle Allen was back in at quarterback, so no Alex Smith. Dwayne Haskins is still dying a slow death in the void. The Giants, they won, but they got a decision to make, because I don't know if Daniel Jones is the answer.
Did they win or did they lose? Because I know a lot of Giants fans who were pissed that they actually won the game.
Yeah.
So the New York Jets are in first place, Trevor Lawrence, if you couldn't tell by listening to the podcast from here on out. But I don't know, man. It's the National Football League. Everybody's going to try to win unless you're the Jets, and you just can't. So
yeah, the Jets are trying. They just can't.
They just can't. So
with the Giants, you know, Daniel Jones, he doesn't look good. He's got fumbling issues. You know, the Giants have to consider pulling to Arizona and looking at different quarterbacks, in my opinion.
Yeah,
especially if that pick's that high.
The Giants are one of those teams where I've never been able to figure them out. Like, how do you beat the Patriots in a span of like 15 years? You beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl, beat arguably the greatest team of all time to stop them from going undefeated, and then you are just trash the rest.
David Gettleman, he sucks as a GM, and he's horrible.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
He traded Odell for being a locker room issue and then drafted DeAndre Baker in the first round, who's in jail.
don't get me started. The Giants front office is terrible. I
Awful.
believe isn't Joe Judge their head coach now, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know Joe Judge. Probably never will. Probably will never see the guy. He didn't deserve to be a head coach. I'm going to say that right now. I don't really. It doesn't. Once again, it doesn't make any sense. But they're in New York. It'll be nice to see the Giants do something again, just for the New York market. But football team, you going to lose to the Giants, bro? The sad thing is the NFC East is so bad. The Giants are still a game out of first place.
Yeah. And the football team's still in contention too.
Yes, they are. So
Because look, I don't put this on Joe Judge because you can put any starting head coach in the NFL with that Giants team and they're not winning.
that it's almost like a Dallas situation. They're not going to be good until Gettleman leaves, and the Cowboys are not going to be good until Jerry Jones leaves.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's awful. And I still got issues with the Giants for taking Saquon. Was it second overall in the 2018 draft?
yes, me and you have different opinions on that, but
Awful. You pass on a potential franchise quarterback, and sure, okay, you could say he wouldn't have succeeded with the lack of weapons around him. Fair point. You passed on Bradley Chubb, Quentin Nelson, and Denzel Ward. Those are cornerstones to building a team. Because what's New York's biggest issue? Pass rush and offensive line. And you passed on two premium players there. Because Quentin Nelson, he's an offensive lineman. They don't get love. And he plays for the Colts. That dude's the best lineman in the league. And easily the best guard.
I don't like the Colts at all. If you can't tell by
And
my
you
tone.
passed on him for Saquon Barkley, who is now he's on IR for the second straight year.
I think so, but Quentin Nelson is an absolute beast. There's no way around it.
So until they move on from David Gettleman, which they said they will at the end of the season, but God, why wait till then?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, you're not gonna win.
Any franchise in New York that's not Buffalo, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. So also in NFC East news, the Baltimore Ravens, they held off Philadelphia Eagles. Baltimore won 30-28. Philly tried to make this interesting in the second half. They were getting dog stomped in the first half, and came back and tried to make it interesting.
Could have tied the game, and they decided to run a read option and just didn't block the end guy. And he tackled Carson Wentz and the running back.
Yeah, me and my dad tried to figure that out. We couldn't figure out the play call there.
For people who don't particularly understand football, I'm not saying you don't watch football all the time. On the read option, usually the tight end on the backside comes back across formation and blocks. He didn't do that. So in the read option, one guy's going to be unblocked because you're reading it. If he crashes the running back, you pull the ball out and run it in. If he stays, you hand the ball off and you run inside zone, basically. They didn't block the extra guy, and Carson Wentz got pummeled along with the running back. It was quite amazing for him to tackle both guys, to be honest. So, but that happened, and then, the Ravens can exhale. I really wish they would have lost, but that's because I'm a Titans fan.
Yeah, so Philly, I can't, they're missing 80% of their line. They have practice squad dudes at wide receiver and tight end. And even then, I believe Carson Wentz is completing something like 58% of his passes from the pocket, something like that, from a clean pocket. So, Carson Wentz, does he deserve all the blame? No, but he's certainly got issues that are concerning. And once again, one of those things where, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's weird, man, because, like I said, he deserves some of the blame, and it's interesting to see how they'll deal with that going forward.
Yeah, I'm convinced that the Eagles have somebody new on IR every week.
Look, they sold their soul to win that Super Bowl. You can't convince me otherwise.
I mean, you got a ring. It's more than Titans, guys.
Yeah. So after that, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are one of 3 undefeated teams left in the NFL, destroyed the Cleveland Browns. I mean, 38-7. Baker, I know he threw it. Did Minka take that for 6 or just pick it off?
I'm pretty sure he went for 6.
That's what I thought. He went for 6. Baker got pulled in the second half. Case Keenum came in for cleanup duty, and I'll tell you that Cleveland's in a spot because Baker Mayfield is not the dude. This is a dude that his talent cast has gotten significantly better every season, he's been in the NFL, and yet he has significantly regressed every season in the NFL.
I talked about this last week. The Browns were fine, and then Baker opened his mouth again this week, and they got dog stomped. So,
I get superstition and mental. I just don't think he's that good. And the Browns, similar to the Giants, in my opinion, will have to explore different options. Because, you can sit and go, oh, well, they're like, what, 4-2? That's cool, but the only time they've played, two good teams and lost twice?
Yeah.
And you somehow pulled a win out against Indy because Phillip Rivers sold harder than Baker did.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield's just not the dude. And it shows.
I'm not there yet. I agree. They need to be looking. I'm not there yet. I want to see how the season finishes out. It doesn't make any sense to me again because he has so much talent.
Exactly. And that's give any other quarterback, even in his own draft class, in the 2018 draft class, give any other quarterback the cast that he's had, and they don't get excuses made for him.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Baker gets excuses made because, it's Cleveland. Yeah, but he's got Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, David Njoku, Odell Beckham Jr., Jack Conklin. They draft. Did they draft? They drafted that tackle out of Alabama.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Was his name Willis?
I don't remember.
Let me look it up.
If I'm being honest.
Brown left tackle.
There's one of those. I don't know, man. Because look, we've been friends for a while. You can attest to this. I thought Baker was a buck coming out of Oklahoma. So,
sorry, Jedrick Willis Jr. or Wills Jr. Sorry, Wills Jr. My fault.
But I don't think he's been a total bust. But I don't know, man. I don't know what they're supposed to do.
For first overall, I feel like he is.
Argument. You can.
Because, look, I'm sorry. I had this opinion on draft night, and I have this opinion now. You give Sam Darnold or Josh Rosen either the coaching that Lamar Jackson got or the cast of weapons that Baker Mayfield's had, and they've got you in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I feel like Rosen got absolutely screwed by both Miami and Arizona, and Darnold is getting dogged by the Jets right now.
Sam Darnold's not the problem.
No. And I don't think Rosen was the problem in Carolina either, or not at Carolina, in Arizona either, or Miami. I don't think either one. I don't think he was the issue in either one. I don't think Rosen or Darnold were the issues. And I think Rosen, he may be able to recover by sitting under Brady in Tampa, but he got his career killed. And I think he got screwed, in my opinion.
I agree. I'll get back to you on this. I want to see how the season finishes, but if they don't do anything this year, I think it's time.
Yeah, if they bottom out this year, they've got to look at drafting a quarterback this year.
Yeah.
So after that, speaking of teams that don't have quarterback figured out, the Chicago Bears defeated the Carolina Panthers 23-16. Carolina, I believe, had been on a 3-game win streak, and Chicago moves to 5-1. I'll say this: I think Chicago's a fraudulent 5-1 team, but 5-1's 5-1.
Yeah,
and they're winning the NFC North right now. I can't hate on that.
I'll say this: the Bears' defense is not fraudulent. That offense is terrible.
Yeah,
the offense is terrible. If that defense doesn't show up, the Bears don't win.
Yeah.
And while there's anything else you can say about that, one quick little note. I love what Matt Rule is doing in Carolina. They're obviously not supposed to be doing anything this year, and yet they're 3-3.
Yeah.
I think that dude has a very bright future, and I think once he gets the roster he wants, especially with McCaffrey out, once he gets the roster he wants, I think he's going to be.
Mike Davis has been filling in at running back, right?
I believe so,
and he's been doing pretty good, which you can argue shows how expendable a running back is. But yeah, I agree. I like what Carolina's building, and like you said, at this point they're overachieving to be 500 through 6 games. I fully believe that's overachieving with McCaffrey out. I'll say this: I don't get why they threw a bag at Teddy Bridgewater this offseason. You know, obviously he's getting it done. They're 3-3 this season, but I don't see him as a franchise guy. I don't.
I have a take on that, and I don't know if this to be true or not. I don't know how long his deal is. Do you know? I'm not entirely sure how long his deal is. But
I'll look it up.
I would appreciate it. Quick theory. They're going to have Bridgewater come in and play next season, maybe the season after that. They're going to draft a quarterback and develop the quarterback because love or hate Teddy Bridgewater, he's not a franchise guy, but I love the dude. He had a terrible injury. He came back. I have the utmost respect for Teddy Bridgewater, and he is the perfect guy for a new quarterback to learn under.
He signed a 3-year, $63 million contract in the offseason.
That's my take. They're going to draft a guy this offseason, do what they need to do, let him develop, let him learn, and then they're going to hand it over. And I can't be mad at them for that. I can't.
My only issue with that is I think Bridgewater might play you out of a top quarterback.
Yeah, that's
the issue you face. But then you have to decide whether you want to take a chance on a late round guy or you want to try to trade up to get an established. I say established like they're not all prospects, but one of the bigger prospects.
It depends on how Rule wants to build his team. Because if he's going to do the let's take an end, even though they don't need a pass rusher, or let's take a tackle, even I don't know if they need a tackle or not, then you have a year or two before you do that. But then again, it's like you said, it's a dangerous game you're playing because you can outperform, which I'll say it again, it's the NFL. These are these guys' jobs.
Yeah.
The Jets, I'll say it, they go out there and try to win every week, okay? That's
try,
what they do.
They just can't.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. The Carolina is an interesting story to me.
I think Carolina, they could be looking at something where, you know, they draft not a quarterback in the first this year, and then next year, you know, you can kind of count on Bridgewater regressing, and they could target Sam Howell out of North Carolina because he'll be eligible. So, you know, there's going to be a quarterback every year. You know, at least one. Sometimes you do have rare occasions where there's not, but most years you'll have one.
And I'll say this for the Bears: I think it's safe to say Trubisky's gone.
Oh, absolutely.
So I feel bad because we just talked about the team that lost, but I don't really know what to say about the Bears. They're 5-1. I don't think they're a 5-1 team. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
so,
I think now that they have a harder stretch of the schedule coming, I think they'll start to even out. You know, not saying they're going to be a bottom feeder, but that offense will provide limitations. Because I don't think, while that defense is good, I don't think it's, 2018, 2019 where they made the run? Yeah. Not, I guess run. It's the first year they had Mac, I think.
Double doink in the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't think they'll be that good. I don't think the defense is that good, but, you know, it's still a defense. So they'll be, you know, average.
The defense is great. The defense that year was historical. It was phenomenal. They scored so many points and forced so many turnovers.
Yeah.
Like, can't do that again.
So now we move on from two teams that don't know what they're doing at quarterback to two more teams that don't know what they're doing at quarterback. The Detroit Lions defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-16. Now, you might say, oh, Austin, you're an idiot. What do you mean Detroit doesn't know what they're doing at quarterback? They have Matthew Stafford. And what's that got him?
Yeah.
And Matthew Stafford's not the issue. It's the same thing that they did with Megatron and Barry Sanders. They didn't build around him. And now Stafford's old.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that the age that a quarterback can play to is rising every year just because of modern technology and medicine and, you know, stuff like that. But still, he's 32.
Yeah.
Detroit's not in a position to be able to just build a you know, they can't do what Tampa Bay's done for Tom Brady.
No,
they can't make a team like that overnight. And then on the other hand, with Jacksonville, you know, all I heard all offseason and through the first 2 weeks of the season, oh man, Gardner Minshew's that dude. Minshew mania. Jacksonville going to build around Gardner Minshew. He's the franchise quarterback. I love Gardner Minshew. He's a great dude. He's a funny dude. He's a chill dude. He reminds me of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Chill dude, easy to get along with. doesn't have an attitude, nothing, no issues like that. The facts are he's not a franchise quarterback. And here we are, Jacksonville's won one game.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, in my opinion, is starting to look like exactly what everybody thought they were going to be when the season started, which was garbage.
Yes.
They shocked the first 2 weeks, but they kind of spent all the energy they had those first 2 weeks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got two things to say because I don't want to waste time on this game. Coach Pencil's not a good head coach. The Lions aren't going to do anything until he's gone. I don't think he's a good head coach at all. That's just my. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they're a poverty franchise. They're a terrible football team now. And yes, I'm a Titans fan. Yes, there's bias in that 110%. I'm not afraid to.
But the facts hold up.
But I need them to win at least 3 games because I'm not trying to deal with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville for the next 15 years.
They'll ruin him. 110% they'll ruin him.
So, but, if the Jets keep losing, I don't have to worry about that. So, that's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, look, I'll say this, and then we'll move on. All Elite Wrestling is the best thing to come out of the Jacksonville Stadium.
Yes, no doubt.
All right, so after this, not to use old cliches, but we have one team that, unfortunately, their quarterback can't get out of New York, and the other team, they're not making sense with what they're doing at quarterback. The Miami Dolphins beat the New York Jets 24-0. This was notable because, one, the Jets remained winless. They're the only winless team in the NFL so far. And with 2 minutes left in the game, Miami put Tua in. Tua made his NFL debut. I believe he was like 2 for 2 for 9 yards. Just running the 2-minute drill, running the clock out, seeing what he can do. But it came out today that Ryan Fitzpatrick's been benched. That Tua is now the starting quarterback. So this week, Miami has their bye week, and then Tua will start at quarterback. I want your thoughts on it.
Personally, I don't agree with the decision. From a outsider standpoint, I understand what they're doing. Personally, you're second in the AFC East. Might be the first time in a decade you actually have a shot to win the division. And Ryan Fitzpatrick has you at 500, and it's pretty much playing lights out. Yes, it was against the Jets. On the other hand, there's a ceiling with Fitzpatrick. You know what you got. And if you don't plan on doing anything, put Tua in. He's got the bye. He can prepare all week. Let him play. Let him get the experience. See what he's got. I wouldn't do it yet. It was going to happen sooner or later. I wouldn't do it yet until I think the Bills will eventually overtake that division. Even though I'm not counting out the Patriots yet, like most people are. I've seen it too long. I don't trust in it yet. But personally, didn't like it. From an organizational standpoint, I understand what they're doing. I know you have strong feelings about it. I'll let you go. But I was going to say one more thing, and I forgot. Yeah, what is up with these quarterbacks coming off injuries having to face Aaron Donald the first game they come back?
Yeah, they set that man up.
I think that's a good idea. Like, Alex Smith had the most gruesome injury I've ever seen. And I've seen I don't remember his name. I've seen the guy break his leg in the March Madness tournament.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott's ankle.
I saw Paul George break his leg in the Olympics.
I saw Paul, yeah. So, but that injury might be the worst. And the first game back, and Aaron Donald's giving him a piggyback ride. It's nothing against Aaron Donald. Great guy, great player. He's just doing his job. But who sits there and goes, all right, yep, Tua, you got Aaron Donald this week. Have fun, bud. What?
Yeah, So I think they're handling it terribly. So originally, it was just Tua's going to start, and it just didn't make sense to me. Like you said, Fitzpatrick having a second in the division, above 500, doing what they can, or they may be at 500, somewhere around that. And it didn't make sense to me. And then I read a report from a reporter. I can't remember his name. I believe he covers the Dolphins and all that. That said, the Dolphins have realized that because they have Houston's first round pick this year.
Yes,
They've realized that Houston's pick is going to be high.
Yep, it is.
So they said they want to know what they have in Tua. And if they don't like it, they're going to pull a Arizona with Josh Rosen and get rid of Tua and draft a quarterback. Which just reinforces my point that is horrible and they don't know what they're doing. You are building a team. You are not trying to plug a quarterback in and win now. You're not expecting this dude. You've built a situation to where he can sit his whole rookie year. Because he's fully healthy from his injury, but still, just because you have a rookie quarterback doesn't mean you have to play the rookie quarterback. Patrick Mahomes set his whole rookie year except week 17 when the starters were rested. He's obviously benefited from it. You don't always have to throw him into the fire. There is no shame in letting Tua sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick. And it'd be different if Fitzpatrick was, not playing good and all that. But, pardon me. Alright, I had to sneeze real quick. My apologies. It's not like Fitzpatrick is playing bad. He's playing good. And he's got like 1,500 yards and 12 total touchdowns. And he's got him second in the division. And you're just going to throw to it to see what you got. To see if you want to draft a quarterback this year. To see what you got. What did you do the whole offseason last year? You know, when you were supposed to be scouting the guy, you took 3rd overall out of Alabama. What were you doing? If you weren't scouting to see what you have, what were you doing? Yeah, that's stupid to me. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think he went 5th if I remember correctly, but I get your point.
Yeah, 5th. I think, I don't remember who had the 3rd pick.
I think Okuda went 3rd. So,
yeah,
but
you're right.
I understand your point, and I understand where you're coming from. So, like I said, personally, I wouldn't do it. From an organizational standpoint, I understood it, but I didn't know that. I think that's stupid too. Why, if the Texans draft pick is going to be high, why not get a staple defensive player? Or because you got a secondary, you have Howard and Jones. Why not get a pass rusher? Or why not get another tackle? Even though I don't think they need another tackle, but you can do so much with that pick, and you still have your first round pick. Which even if y'all finish in 500, you get the 16th pick. That's not a bad draft pick at all. So I don't understand it, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. I mean, the Jets, there's nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, so, all right, I know we're going to take long for the Titans, so let's just go ahead and quick fire these last ones. Tampa Bay defeated Green Bay 38-10. Green Bay is no longer undefeated. Gronk caught his first touchdown pass in almost 700 days. Tampa looked good. Green Bay didn't look good. Not much to say. San Francisco 24, Rams 16. Wait, is that right?
I
think. I couldn't remember. I may have wrote it. I think that is. I don't know why I thought the Rams won that game.
No, they were interesting late, but it was 24.
Yeah.
Okay. 3 Rams.
Yeah. 49ers 24, Rams 16. On the first of 2 doubleheaders on Monday night, Kansas City defeated Buffalo 26-17. Neither team looked all too good, left a lot to be desired. And in the Monday Night Football game, Arizona Cardinals defeated the Dallas Cowboys. We them boys throw up the X 38-10. Dallas turned the ball over like 403 times. Kyler Murray showed that at 4'12", he can still play quarterback in the NFL.
He threw 9 passes, won the game.
Yeah.
Well, he completed 9 passes because they were talking about going on first take.
And then in our game of the week, the Tennessee Titans defeated Houston 42-36 in overtime. Before we dive in, I want to mention something that I'm seeing on Twitter right now. It's a clip from the Texans-Titans game, and it's Laramie Tunsil blocking Clowney. And he did a wonderful job on blocking Clowney. He stonewalled him, just completely stonewalled him. Larry Tunsil playing lights out, as the tweet says. It's from Brandon Thorne, at Brandon Thorne NFL. Paul Kaharski retweeted. That's why I'm seeing it. My gripe is I see Texans fans in the reply saying, "Oh, I thought he wasn't worth it. I thought he wasn't worth it."
You're 1-5. Be quiet.
You're 1-5, and that first round pick, one of two that you traded for him, is on path to be top 5.
Yeah.
And you got an elite left tackle, and you won 3 games. Ooh, he was worth it, baby.
Don't let me worry about my Titans pass rush.
Yeah, I just thought that was a weird hill to die on.
Yes, but what do I know?
Yeah.
All right, 42-36 turned into a shootout. Let me just say this. The Titans take years off my life every time I watch them play, but it's all love in the end. I love football.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in this game in the first half. I'm cruising. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, we're up. Cincy's up. I'm feeling good.
Feeling great. We come out after halftime, and my whole mood changed. Look, I don't know what it was, but that Randall Cobb touchdown in the corner of the end zone really pissed me off. I don't he's a former Cowboy, made me cringe a little bit, but nothing against Randall Cobb. I just don't like the teams he's played for. Let me say this. The Titans defense has work to do, okay? We said that last week. Nothing has changed. They won 2 games in 5 days, so I can't be mad at them for not practicing. You're in the middle of the season. Not much you can do. The pass rush is not consistent, especially from the edge guys. The middle, solid. Jeffrey Simmons is a beast. Daquan Jones is a beast. There's nothing else you can say about that. Jadeveon Clowney, Vic Beasley, and Harold Landry have got to do something in the pass rushing downs. They're phenomenal run stoppers. Well, Vic Beasley doesn't really play that much right now, which I'm kind of confused on why.
Because he sucks.
Clowney's a great run stopper. Landry is a phenomenal run player. Landry is a great overall player, but you know what you have in him. I need Beasley to make that splash play for me.
I kind of disagree with that.
Yes, I'm getting greedy, but that's just how I feel right now. I'm tired. Yes, we've played Josh Allen and Deshaun Watson the last 2 weeks. It's no easy task. I'm tired of seeing the dude get pressured and then not get sacked.
That's the point I was gonna make. I feel like they're getting pressure. It's just that we're playing really mobile quarterbacks, so it's hard to get pressure and contain.
I saw a funny tweet the other day, and it said Clowney should have his own category for almost sacks, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally. That's the perfect segue into what I was going to say. Big Ben's a sitting duck for the most part. He moves around.
Just wait. He gonna turn into Lamar Jackson when we play him.
Turn Lamar Sunday at 1, so it doesn't matter. But I just feel like if there's ever a week, you got Big Ben sitting back there. Now, yes, the dude is huge and he's hard to tackle. You can go get him. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to run for 50 yards on you. He might run for 15, maybe. He ain't going to run for 30 on you. Go get him. Look, my biggest gripe with the Titans defense is if it's 3rd and 8, the opposing team is getting it. I'd rather than being like 3rd and 2 right now. And that should be the opposite. If it's 3rd and 8 plus, the team gets it. And it's so frustrating because the Texans game would have been close. We could just get off the field on 3rd down. It wouldn't even been close.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing with the defense. Offense, look, they dropped 42. It is what it is. I'm with you. The little screens have got to go for a little bit. Everybody's seen them on tape. But shout out Arthur Smith. I think he's a great coach. I hope he doesn't leave him free agency. I hope he doesn't leave him become a head coach. But I'll let you harp on that. I mean, King Henry's King Henry. Tannehill threw for 300 yards. Ferguson, shout out Harvard graduate. Had 100 yards receiving. He's our second string tight end, if you didn't know. Last little tidbit on the Steelers game this week. We lost a left tackle, Taylor Lewan. Shout out Taylor Lewan. Love that guy. Towards ATL. It's going to hurt this week because we got to deal with Bud Dupree and TJ Watt on the edge, and Tyson Braylow is not the answer.
I'll say this about Ty. because me and my dad were talking about this yesterday, and at first I was with you. I was like, oh, he sucks. He's gonna give up so much. Like he's gonna get dogged. And then my dad was like, I don't agree with that. So me being me, argumentative, I looked into it. He surrendered one pressure on Sunday, and it was the strip sack that JJ got. Which one? Why are you leaving him cold off the bench one-on-one with JJ? That was stupid. But that was the only pressure he allowed against Houston, and he was our highest graded run blocker against Houston. So it could be a whole lot worse. Obviously, he's not Lawan, but
definitely could be a whole lot worse. I was nervous about the Steelers pass rush before we lost Lawan. Now I'm really on edge. We're gonna see what happens. But the Steelers lost Devin Bush to a torn ACL as well.
That hurts.
So that hurts them. That helps our run game, I think. Even though the Steelers have a great run defense, I think they might have the best run defense in the league.
They probably have the best defense in the league.
We're gonna see what happens Sunday. I'm excited. I think we have a phenomenal chance to win. I'm not saying we're gonna win because the Steelers are a great team. Don't get it twisted. I don't like the Steelers. They're a phenomenal team. We're going to see what happens Sunday.
So, before I get into my spill about the game, just box score to give reference. Derrick Henry had 24 touches, 264 total yards of offense, 2 touchdowns. Tannehill was 30 of 41, 364 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, an interception, and a lost fumble. Anthony Firkser had 8 receptions, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. First time in Titans and NFL history that there's been a 350-plus yard passer, 200-plus yard rusher, and 100-plus yard receiver. A.J. Brown had 5 receptions for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the game-tying touchdown with 4 seconds left. And Adam Humphries had himself a day. 6 receptions, 64 yards, and 1 touchdown. On Houston side of things, Deshaun Watson, 28 of 37, 335 yards, 4 touchdowns. That got me some coins in Madden because I said he'd throw for at least 3. David Johnson, 20 touches, 69 total yards, and a touchdown. Will Fuller, 6 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown. Capped off by, was he the one that burnt Malcolm Butler on that 50-yard touch? That's what I thought. So he had like a 50-yard just post route that he burnt Malcolm Butler on, which why Malcolm Butler's even supposed to be guarding on the same side of the field as Will Fuller's might, I don't know, but whatever.
Before Dexter comes back, just for the speed element, I can't wait.
Yeah. Brandon Cooks, 9 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. And then Darren Fells, their tight end, had 6 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. So let me start this off by saying I don't hate Arthur Smith. I don't even dislike Arthur Smith. I just think deserved criticism is getting lost in the shuffle because we're winning. The second half, and notably the third quarter, was hard to watch. Jonnu Smith went out at halftime. He's got an ankle injury. He's questionable for Pittsburgh. And we started running tight end screens. It wasn't even Firkser. It was our third string tight end, like Swayam or whatever, that we called it from the practice squad because Mikael Pruitt was on the COVID list. We're running play action screens to the third string tight end and the backup running back. We're not running Derek. We're not getting in our passing sets that gave us success in the first half. We got outscored 13-0 in the third quarter because the offense couldn't sustain a drive because Arthur Smith just abandoned what was working. And that's my criticism with Arthur Smith. Sometimes it feels like when things are going really good, he'll try too hard to throw something unique in there just for the sake of doing it. And sometimes, you know the saying that less is more? I feel like that's overly true with Arthur Smith. You know, stick to the basics. Not even necessarily basics, because it's not a basic scheme. Just stick to your fundamentals of your scheme. Stick to the base of your scheme and it works. Run Derek. You know, throw the intermediate ball. Dial up a shot here or there. I didn't understand why in the third quarter he just went away from all of that and we suffered. And that's my biggest issue, is that I feel like there is deserved and valid criticism that gets suppressed under the 5-0 tag. Oh, well, we won, so who cares? Yeah, I care because we're not always going to be able to dig ourselves out of that hole. You know, I didn't even know if we were going to be able to dig back out against Houston. You certainly aren't digging out of a hole against a Pittsburgh or a Kansas City. You know, that was my biggest issue. I like Arthur Smith. He's easily the best offensive coordinator we've had maybe ever. And this is the best Titans offense in franchise history. So, you know, I don't think he's a scrub or he needs to be fighting. You know, it's nothing like that. You know, I agree with you that I hope he doesn't get a head coaching job, because I would like to keep him at least for one more season, because eventually he will get a head coaching job.
I think he's going to get one this year.
You know, I just feel like there are deserved criticisms that, you know, oh, why are you complaining about that? We're 5-0. Stop being negative. It's not that I'm being negative. I'm just looking at it through a contender point of view. You know, if we were overachieving and, you know, weren't expected to be good, then, you know, I could excuse it. But in my opinion, I feel like the Titans are in a position where we should be contending and are contending for a championship. And I don't think you can have slip-ups like that. And it's just small fundamental things like that, in my opinion. That's my big issue with Arthur Smith for this game. And it's just for this game. It's not a season thing. It's not a career thing. It's just what I noticed against Houston this week.
No, I get where you're coming from. I'm not a big guy on it's always how you finish for me. The fourth quarter and overtime were a whole lot better. And I think it's quite interesting with the Titans. If you watch Titans game like we do, when we come out for a 2-minute drive and we're down, don't you just get the feeling that we're going to go score?
Yes.
It seems like we score every time we get in a 2-minute offense. Knock on wood. Hopefully that never ends in case we need it. But because we did the same thing with Mariota. It feels like every time we're in a 2-minute drive, we go score where we have to. And I think if we're going to run Derek, how about we run Derek? Like, here's just a little synopsis. Why don't we do that more often? The offense, it's fine. Why don't we go like no huddle 2-minute drive? I don't know, maybe third drive of the game if nothing else is working. Because it seems like it gives the offense a spark. Now, excuse me, the only negative to that is Derek is not on the field because he's not our pass catching running back. That's going to be Darrington Evans, but he's hurt right now. It was Jeremy McNichols last game, but shout out to that dude. That dude ran like a madman when he had to, and it was phenomenal to watch. But I think it would be interesting. But at the same time, they still scored 42 points in the end. Yes, it was overtime, but at the end of the game, Derek touched the ball dang near every play in overtime. So,
overtime lasted, what, all of 4 plays?
Get on the horse and run when you have to. Just don't try to get too cute. But at the same time, I'm not an NFL OC. I think he does a phenomenal job. I understand what you're saying about the third quarter. I really do.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it's just the things that separate the contenders from the pretenders, in my opinion. And, you know, and I fully expect that it's something that's been addressed between Coach Vrabel and Arthur Smith. I fully expect that it kind of went like something that we had, you know, not you suck, you need to go, you know, just to like, hey, how about we stick to this instead of trying this when plan A is working. You know, it's kind of like no reason to go to plan B if plan A works.
Yeah, like being a diehard Titans fan, this might be the first time in my lifetime watching. I'm not concerned about the offense at all.
This is the most fun I've ever had as a Titans fan.
There's no doubt. Like, I can confidently turn on TV and say against most teams we're dropping 30.
Yeah.
I'll drop 30 this week because I'm saying again, Pittsburgh is a great team. Their defense is great. So is their offense. But I have to worry about us giving up 30 a game too, and that's not.
See, here's my thing with the defense. You know, so Paul Kaharski will post a lot of team stats on his Twitter, which I'm very thankful for because it's very helpful just to kind of give context to the teams and stuff. The Titans, I believe, are 27th in yards given up. We're 15th in points allowed.
Exactly.
So we're a top half scoring defense, and I feel like that it fully embodies what the Titans are.
Yes.
We are a bend but don't break team.
110% does it. We're gonna take it back. Everybody remembers us beating the Ravens in the playoffs last year. Lamar had over 500 yards of total offense?
Yeah, something like that.
They only scored 16, didn't they? I don't remember the exact.
I think it may have been 12.
It might have been, honestly.
But it was somewhere in that range.
The definition of bend but don't break. The Ravens did whatever they wanted inside the 20s, but outside of the 20s, in between. But once they got in the red zone, they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. So and with our offense, it's a winning formula. Now, we lack speed in the secondary, and that's been a concern for this team for as long as I can remember. And part of it right now is injuries. Adoree's hurt. Fulton is a rookie, and he made a rookie mistake on that touchdown that Randall Cobb had. He turned and looked back at quarterback, and Cobb immediately took off to the corner, and you just can't do that. He'll learn.
Chris Jackson's hurt, too.
I think he'll be fine. And I love Jonathan Joseph, but he's like 38 years old. So there's not much he can do playing corner in the NFL. Malcolm Butler, he's your technician, man. He's your technician fire guy. He's not running Will Fuller. And to be fair, Butler, who do you put him on a Texas game? They got Randall Cobb, Will Fuller.
You can't.
Like, all those dudes run 4-4-4-3. So, but that's just to be fair to Malcolm.
And that's why I don't get why fans, I saw a lot of Titans fans in the replies talking about, we should have re-signed Logan Ryan. We should have. All Logan Ryan is what Malcolm Butler is now. He's not a speedster. He's a technician. Logan Ryan, I love Logan Ryan. He's a Titan for life. He's in Nashville for life. I always got love for Logan Ryan. It's just he won't help the issues we have in the secondary.
No, getting Fulton was an absolute need.
Yes, I love the Fulton pick.
I wouldn't have been mad if we took Fulton with our first pick. I wouldn't have been. We need the speed element, and we need the younger guys to learn. Because look, Kevin Byard and Kenny Vaccaro are the most underrated safety duo in the league, and I'll live and die on that hill.
Yeah.
Amani Hooker is going to be a stud, and he's a backup to both of those guys right now. That dude's going to
could just play him at slot corner like he played in college.
That dude's going to be a stud, and I can't wait. But then that'll be Vaccaro leaves, or I pray to God nothing happens to Byard because that dude's an all-pro for life. But
he's already signed his contract extension.
Yeah, but I'm just talking like injury-wise.
Oh yeah, I feel you.
I pray nothing happens to him.
Yeah, that dude was born and bred Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, went to MTSU and is in the league.
Yeah. Bang,
doing what he does.
So I'll say this: the 2018 draft will forever haunt me. Because we took Corey Davis at 5, and Corey Davis has been fine, don't get me wrong, especially now that we have a modern offensive scheme.
Yes.
He's been doing good. We could have had Jamal Adams at 5, and I wanted I don't know if you remember draft night, but I wanted Jamal Adams at 5.
I remember that.
And in hindsight, and of course hindsight is 2020, so this isn't me saying, oh, the Titans are sorry. Hindsight's 2020. It's easy to go back and say this now, but we could have taken Tre'Davious White where we took Adoree Jackson.
Yeah.
But and I don't want to harp on that because you can sit here and play what ifs forever.
Adoree is a solid corner in this league. I love Adoree because 1, he's a great guy, and 2, his speed helps him so much. He can get recovered. That's the most impressive thing about him to me. My thing is, if we're going to play so much man-to-man, I like to draft better man-to-man corners. But I personally, you see the NFL, that's a really hard thing to find. Who's done?
I feel like Malcolm Butler can play man. It's just when we play a team like Houston, you can't put him on the speedster.
Yeah.
Even against Minnesota, they did him wrong by putting him on Justin Jefferson. He can't run with Justin Jefferson, and he can't. It's got nothing to do with skill or.
It's not a knock against. Oh, it's just reality.
Yeah, it's not saying that he doesn't have skill or anything like that. It's just physicality. It'd be like if you put me one-on-one with whoever plays wide receiver at Oakland High School. I'm not going to be able to guard him. And while I have no skill at corner, it's going to be the fact that he can run straight by me because physically he's just faster.
I'm interested to see what the Titans do this week because you got Juju, who's not a burner. He's a great route runner. And then you got Claypool, who just came out of nowhere, who's 6'4" and as fast as can be.
I think so. I feel like their wide receivers play great into our corners.
I'm very interested to see where they put Malcolm.
Especially if Deontay Johnson's still out. That's the big X factor there.
Personally, right now, I'm putting Malcolm on Claypool because Claypool's hot. Juju didn't do much last game. I'm gonna let Fulton try Juju until he gets killed in it. Because obviously, I don't think our corners move sides of the field that often, which I think they should. But I'm not running it.
I would put I'd put Butler on. I agree. Put Butler on Claypool, but then I would put Joseph or Chris Jackson on Juju and put Fulton on Deontay Johnson. Because he's the only dude that can run with him.
Yeah, which another thing that's happening with Malcolm too is he's a great guy, but he's a guy you live and die on a hill with because he'll jump some routes. Sometimes he'll get burst, sometimes take it for 6, and you want the near corner. He's earned that right to take some chances.
Yeah,
but you have to give the rookies and the older veteran on the other side safety help. So Malcolm is literally on an island.
Yeah, sometimes with Butler, you have the 2 ends. Sometimes you have the Will Fuller and the Justin Jefferson touchdowns. Sometimes you have the 2 picks against Josh Allen. It's a give and take.
That's just the life of a corner in this league.
The last man corner that can consistently say that he doesn't get beat, Tre'Davious White last season, even then that was just one season. Yeah. Over multiple seasons, Darrelle Revis. Even last season, it was just one game, but Devontae Parker tore up Stephon Gilmore week 17.
Yeah.
So, it happens to the best of them.
Yes, for sure. And yes, Eric's playing into that. We're not going to get into that conversation. It's already late. So if we, in the offseason, we can definitely talk Eric.
Yeah, and that's why I said man corner, and not a knock at zone corners. It's just we run man. We run a lot of man.
We do.
So, Titans, we were able to pull it out 42-36 get Houston. 5-0. We got the battle of the unbeatens. Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Kickoff is at noon. Nissan Stadium, Nashville, Tennessee. I believe it's supposed to be in the mid-70s. Light breeze. I don't know what color shirt I'll be wearing. I don't got all that information.
Perfect day for football. I know what I'll be doing Sunday.
Yep. You got anything you'd like to add?
No. Thank y'all for listening.
Yep. Thank y'all for listening. This was another episode of the Still in Developmental Podcast. Until next time.